Hello, hello, hello. Good morning and welcome. You are on the mountain with Rick and Yocreati, and it is time to have some fun. But first, coffee. How you doing tonight, yo?
I am doing very, very good, brother. Thank you for having
Fantastic.
me.
First question for you: how do you drink your coffee?
I drink it black, brother.
Amen to that. I will occasionally put some stuff in there. Have a little bit of additions, particularly some whiskey or some good cream. Not so much with the sugar or whatnot, but
There's nothing wrong with a little Irish coffee. That's what it sounds like over there.
yep, yeah, absolutely Irish. And not necessarily opposed to some brandy or bourbon or whatever else either, but that's definitely the number one addition. And then occasionally some creamers and whatnot, but most of the time just black. Do you drink a lot of coffee?
No, I drink probably one a day. I used to drink like four, but now I got down just to the morning.
Well, I'm sure you will actually notice during the course of this interview, I will turn around a few times because I have a coffee pot literally right here. And every time I stream, I start with a full pot of coffee, and I generally end right about the time when it goes away. So I've
What
got a
kind of
great routine.
coffee do you like?
Yes. Honestly, I've actually switched to decaf for most of my regular streams because they start at midnight,
Okay,
and I already kind of suffer from insomnia. So
okay.
that's the coffee doesn't really add much onto that necessarily. I don't really feel super effects from caffeine or anything. I just love the taste. And my thing is, I like to have a hot drink so that I don't just down it really fast. It's either got to be really hot or it's got to be really carbonated. Otherwise, I just drink things way too fast.
You know what? I can't argue that because when I was drinking coffee about like four times a day, it would honestly put me to sleep. It wouldn't even really be effective anymore. So I totally understand that. I
Yeah,
used to be obsessed with the energy drinks too, but now I just do one coffee in the morning and that's it.
there you go. And that is a remarkable hat. Is that legitimate Louis?
Yeah, so there was a guy on Instagram that I follow, and I absolutely love his hats. He takes old, like, whether it's Louis, Gucci, whatever, Nikes, whatever, and he makes custom hats out of it. So he might take like a bag, and so this is every part of this is built from Louis. So my wife knew I always liked his photos
So
on
it's
Instagram.
not an
She
actual
purchased it.
Louis design, but it is made from actual Louis materials, like taken out of actual Louis stuff. Holy crap!
100%. Yeah. So so it's a one on one custom hat he makes. It's because he's an artist, and he basically gets a whole bunch of different Louis products and just slices and dices and puts it together. So you would see the stitching. You
Yeah,
could tell
no,
it's not
that
it's
is
handmade.
definitely one off, custom, and super dope.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I saw you. I saw your hat game. I was like, I could wear my favorite hat. It was Novopangea, but I feel like I had to kind of step it up for this stream.
Well, hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's never necessary, but it's always welcome.
Hmm.
I'm always proud to have people rep, but I don't want anyone to ever think like it's expected, like you can't come on my channel if you're not, stepping up your A game or something like that. I don't want that to be the vibe at all for any,
Well, let me
potential
be honest. I just
future
need an excuse
guests.
to wear this hat because I don't wear it enough.
Yeah, I get you. I love this one. Just I've pretty much I've customized it myself. Like when I got this hat, it was just flat brim and whatnot, kind of like the base of that Louis one, but I just kind of went a different route with the customization. But I particularly love these feathers, this remarkable blue on one side, and then super bright yellow on the other. And these actually came from my fiance's uncle's bird named
Okay.
Tex, who is a blue macaw, and so like they're actually like sustainably harvested and everything like that. Uh, he's had her for decades, and we used to think that Tex was a boy for a long time, and then all of a sudden Tex laid an egg, and so now Tex is short for Texana.
Okay, I love it.
But yeah, great bird, and it's just crazy their kind of lifespans and whatnot, and those feathers are just amazing. And then I have quite a collection of other feathers as well. But I mean, when you've got a blue macaw to put in there, there's really not much else that's gonna kind of take over that spot, you know?
And that's the bird from Rio, right?
Yeah. I think the one in Rio was red, if I remember correctly.
No, it's the blue macaw.
Oh, it was a blue macaw. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't.
like
It's
I'm
been
not
a
a bird
long
expert.
time since I've seen Rio.
I'm not a bird expert, so like I didn't even know if that was a real bird. And you were the first person I think I ever met in my life who mentioned the blue macaw in like a casual conversation. So thank you, Rio, for letting me know what
Hey,
you're
there you
talking
go.
about.
Honestly, most of what I know about actual lizards, I learned from Rango.
There you
Like
go.
sometimes those corny kids movies are actually good for something. I gotta love it.
I love it.
So, let's talk about a little bit on gaming as a fellow game creator. Of course, we're gonna get to that and learn more and spread the word about your project as well. But kind of diving back into history, what was your first game? When did you fall in love with games? And was it like a video game? Was it a board game? Was it a card game? Like, what was your introduction to the world of play?
So it was the first Nintendo, Mario, and the games I had Mario one. I had that Kung Fu Karate Kid game, the side-scrolling one. I love that one. Zelda obviously was um, huge, but I was so young. Sometimes I don't lie, I was a little scared at some levels. I was like young when it came out. Um, Bubble Bob, I loved that game because I loved the dinosaurs at the time. So that was what really got me into it. And then it was the original Game Boy, and I kept on playing those, and just loved it. Just absolutely loved the games.
So you pretty much started on consoles and grew up that way. When did you really start feeling the pull over to the computer side of things?
Well, yeah, well, back in the '80s, there wasn't that much, computer stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I remember we got our first computer on, I forgot how old I was, but it was after Nintendo came out, and we got a game called Lemmings.
Oh, I love Lemmings. I have Lemmings on my phone now.
Yep.
Same
So I
exact game. Like it is straight up actual Lemmings. And when I found that, I was like, I damn near shit myself. I was like, this was my mom's favorite fucking game. And
yeah,
I've probably only put in maybe 15 minutes, half an hour on it since I downloaded it. But as soon as I saw it, that shit got downloaded.
yep. I loved it because it was problem solving, and I got to use my brain, and I absolutely loved it. That was a big game, and then the original Sim City,
Oh
the
yeah,
super simple one, I love that one too.
with the little 9 square blocks of
Yep.
residential and commercial and industrial. Yeah, that shit was so much fun.
And I won't lie, that's a little that game was a little inspiration for Pablo Novopangea, and we could talk to about that later. So those are kind of like my first games that I absolutely loved. And you know, growing up, I didn't get hardcore into, I would say, computer games until StarCraft.
Okay, that's a good
And
entry point though. That's
it is,
one of the
before
greatest games of all time.
before then I was obsessed with, I think 64 was my favorite system out.
You obviously have not watched all of the previous off the cuff.
Why, is that yours or you hate it?
Oh no, N64 is the beginning of the end for consoles for me.
Oh, is that what you thought? Oh, I
Yeah,
loved it.
that
I
that
loved it.
controller is just a travesty and is the worst thing that ever happened to video games as a
Well,
whole.
I won't lie, that controller had a huge learning curve, but I really liked the Mario and the Zelda on it because I felt first like real open world type of game that I really got to play. I didn't really see that when Super Nintendo or Nintendo, and I really love the open world concepts. And so I loved that system. because of that.
Gotcha. And I will say that there were amazing games on 64. Like, the offerings were incredible. I hated that controller, and then ever since then, every controller has had the thumbsticks, and that's what pushed me out of consoles. I'm just, especially like first person shooter, something like that, something intricate, you're trying to aim with thumbsticks, I'm just fucking worthless. So
Yeah.
that was kind of the beginning of the end of consoles for me, because I can still do all right. At least I can do well enough to have fun using WASD and a mouse.
Yeah.
But with the thumb pads, it's not happening. I'm half worthless.
Yeah. Honestly, these I don't know how you do it. I feel like this hat's a little heavy. I had to take it off.
Because I really don't wear baseball caps. Like, if I'm gonna wear any kind of hat, it's generally got a full brim. Even like if I'm working in a kitchen, I might wear a baseball cap backwards or whatever. But even then, it's got to be fitted, and I'd rather just have on a do-rag, just to cover my hair and keep it from getting unruly or anything like that. But I've never really been a big fan of the baseball caps, so
Makes
I've
sense.
kind of grown up wearing the full brim hats, and that's what's comfortable for me.
Makes sense. But yeah, and then after that, I was late to get into PlayStation. But I obviously got into PlayStation 2 right away, and I loved like the Tony Hawk Underground.
Oh my God, Tony Hawk, yes.
Yep,
So much fun.
yep. And then with Final Fantasy X was actually my first Final Fantasy.
Oh wow.
Which I can't believe I never played it beforehand, because I was always in the whole Mario world.
Yeah.
And before in 64, I actually wasn't a big Super Nintendo person. I was a Sega person, so I was in the whole Sonic world and a lot of NBA Live and Madden type of stuff then at that age, because I loved playing sports. So I was playing a lot of sports games, and then with Sonic and whatnot, and Mortal Kombat. That was kind of, I was going through that phase. But then after that phase, I played a little bit of sport games like Griffey Baseball in 64. But then then, I never really picked up sport games and really just dove into Final Fantasy type of games and the open world Zelda games. If I'm going to spend time playing video games, it had to have strategy. So besides StarCraft, everything I usually play has been open world.
Gotcha. So what are your thoughts, or are you even in Splinterlands at all? Are you on Hive at all?
I am not on Splinterlands. I'm very familiar with the game just because of the community I'm in. I honestly don't have too much time to play games, but I have watched some Splinterland streams, and I have been on their website plenty of times, and I even purchased a few assets. I just haven't had time to jump in there.
Fair enough. Well, I was going to ask you your opinions as someone who enjoys the sports games, or at least used to, what your thoughts are on the GLS project, if you know about that.
I did not know about that.
All right, so they're basically making a similar game to Splinterlands, but instead of the battle mechanics, it's actually basically a kind of a sports team managing style of gameplay. And then instead of having like a battle as your match, it's an actual match where you're collecting your players as cards, and then you are putting them on the field instead of your team that you're selecting for battle. And
I would love that, just because when I played like FIFA and all those games, I would trade players to make my team a certain way.
Yep.
Because I like the whole GM. Like, I love fantasy sports. I love playing fantasy football, fantasy basketball. When I was in college, I spent more time studying that than schoolwork. I'll be in class just like saying, can I trade this guy for that guy? So I loved that, and the data and the numbers. I'm really into data and numbers. So if it's kind of like that, and I'm kind of the GM building my own team, I would enjoy it. Right now I only play fantasy football just to hang out with my old friends in college and high school that I don't see anymore, because I'm originally from Rhode Island and I don't see them that often. but I don't have time to crunch those numbers and be honestly that good at fantasy football anymore. I put
Gotcha.
my time into
And I
other
could
things.
definitely hear a little New England in you.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
it's
not
there, guy.
surprised. I would not have guessed Rhode Island, but then again, does anybody ever?
No, very few people. Very few people. Just people who know me.
Like, I wouldn't have necessarily guessed Boston. I can tell that it's not quite that Boston accent, but it's similar. It's Boston-esque.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, what is your kind of favorite style of gameplay? Is it that open world MMO sandbox style explorer?
Yeah, I
And
would say.
are you really into the fantasy side of things, or does it really not kind of matter what skin you put on it? It's all about the actual exploration of the world.
No, it's fantasy. It has to be the fantasy. Well, it's the fantasy style, like the whole Zelda, Final Fantasy, all those type of games. I never been a big fan, and maybe it's because I wasn't good at it. First person shooters. Like we talk about 64, everybody talks about GoldenEye, and I remember all my friends wanted to play it, but I never really got into GoldenEye. I
Best time
never
I ever had on
enjoyed it.
GoldenEye was slappers only. Why? Because I'm worthless at aiming with a fucking joystick.
Exactly. Maybe that's why I hated it. When I was in college, I was playing the big Call of Duty fans, etc. But you know, I was a kid taking Adderall and playing StarCraft till in high school and in college. Well, I didn't take Adderall in high school, but I was just up all night and the weekends just playing StarCraft. I won't lie, I was pretty good at it. I remember once, we had these group of like, these computer kids and gaming kids in high school, and they were kind of bragging how good they were. And I was a jock, so they were kind of teasing me about how they're better than me. So I played one guy one on one. I housed him, and then he kind of disconnected his internet at the end, saying, "Oh, I would have came back because I just lost
Oh
connection."
yeah,
But
yeah. No, I know how that one goes. Yeah.
and oh my god, it was so much fun the next day at school because they were all like, "We're the best clan," whatnot. So it was fun.
So when you say it's got to be fantasy, and then you went directly to StarCraft from there, so there's a little bit of a juxtaposition there. Not that I'm necessarily disagreeing, but it brings forth a good question to my mind. What are the key elements of fantasy to you?
To me, it's a different world than Earth. It's like it's just like the whole like Lord of the Rings style. It has like Earth-like things, right? But it's in a different world. Like obviously StarCraft, you had the Protoss, you had the aliens, and you had the Terran, which were humans. Final Fantasy, you had human-like characters, but some characters weren't human-like, and it was just a whole different world. Um, Zelda, even that way too, and I just like that kind of escape in that story. Like GTA, which you could say is kind of like it, but I didn't enjoy GTA like my friends did. Right, I played it because my friends played it and we're hanging out, maybe having some beers and playing it, but I didn't really play it by myself. I didn't do all the missions. I don't remember any of the cheat codes. That wasn't for me.
Gotcha. And I honestly like, since we were talking about the first person shooters and whatnot, I'm kind of the same way. Like I've done war for real, so I have no interest whatsoever in playing Call of Duty or any of these other hyper realistic first person shooters. If I'm gonna play a first person shooter, I'm more interested in Doom, Wolfenstein, Quake, Halo. If I'm fighting demons or aliens or I'm slinging magic spells or something like that, then at least the gameplay will, or the world will bring me in and let me overlook the fact that I don't care for the first person shooter gameplay. But
I did play a little Doom. I won't lie. Back in the day, the computer Doom.
Doom, all right, yeah, it was such a great groundbreaking game. Have you done any looking into the story of the creation of Doom? Like,
Mm-mm.
that's one of the things that I got on a trip about when I really started kicking around the idea of actually, because I've been building this world of Galil for decades, but primarily like for D&D, and it wasn't until relatively recently that I actually just really decided to go full bore on making it as a game online to share with others. It's been built all this time for tabletop role playing, but that's really where it takes pieces of everything I've ever done, my favorite parts of every character I've ever played and whatnot, and that's really what it's all about. It's just it is a platform to tell an amazing story. So tell me about Novopangea's world.
It's funny you said that because Novo's kind of the same exact way, and I kind of think you might actually love it. So basically, our lore is very important to us, and it all started with the story. And our artwork is, people say it's one of the best on wax. But Novopangea basically is in a fantasy world. The 6 different realms. You have the Shadow Realm, you have the Space Realm, Earth, Time, Water, and Light Realm. So
Okay.
each realm has their own characteristics. They look different from what the people look like, but obviously our artist made the whole it still look like they're in this whole world. There's light backstory right now. However, we are working on growing that backstory um, right now. Actually, when I read, we were bringing on a new writer, and his first pass I thought was phenomenal. And obviously, I think you know who he is because he introduced us. And we're gonna start diving into more of the writing to get more of the backstory. And after I read the first couple pages, I'm like, dude, I'm excited
It's funny
because
because I actually do some writing for him too. So
really.
if you have any other work that you need or whatnot, you got another person to reach out to if you need anything.
It's fabulous. So like the writing's good, the lore is good. I remember the other day I did something for the game, and then because as soon as he joined the project, he really loved it because of the lore, and he was just like he DM he's like, this might not make complete sense for the lore. I'm like, okay, let me talk to me. And the fact that he was so passionate, and his ideas are great in my viewpoint. It makes sense to have so many people in the community just absolutely love the lore and the story and hold our project team accountable to not, hate to say, fucking it up. And it's very important for, in our eyes, for the community to be involved and help grow together the whole Novo Pangea idea and concept. So it's just a perfect idea. But the lore is the thing. I think that is the bigger picture. I would love to be a movie one day, animated series,
Right.
and digital comics, and the game is just a fun added bonus.
Exactly. That is that's the thing about building a world is when you're putting that much into it, even if it's originally just for one thing, you're always envisioning so much more because one thing can't really contain everything that you're putting into it. And
Correct.
that's
Correct. And
like
that's one thing a lot of people like is right now we have the world defined and built out for Nova Pangea. After just looking at some of our story cards and everything else, it's you can kind of really close your eyes and see and envision what each realm is like. What we don't have yet, which the community will be helping us with, is the actual backstories and the day-to-day stories and the storyline yet. But so we have the world, but we need the storyline to kind of be like, okay, I'm following the plot and all this other stuff. That's what we're working on next.
okay. I dig it. So like how far back does your lore go? Like, why do you have these 6 realms? How are they linked? Can you really get into anything like that? Is that stuff still under works?
No, we have some trailers of it, and I can share one with you to kind of talk about the genesis. So Zine is the god of all gods, and then there was the creators who now looked upon as the individual gods of each of the realms. So they actually kind of originally made a pact of peace. You know what I mean? And if you look at our art, each realm specifically combined, their seal makes the Nova logo. So
Okay.
And so we have some great animations kind of going over and showing it. And then, existence happened. And then boom, an explosion happened. I hate to say like a big bang, but explosion happened, and now it's the world of Novopangea. So they're all fighting on one continent for their own land, right? That the land split up into 6 different realms. Now the question is, are they going to live in peace and harmony, or is it going to be war? So that's something the community will help decide. So maybe there's some alliances. We have some of our mythic cards that have a peace card, and we have a war card to really show what it will look like. And it's really fun. It's really cool. We have so many great visuals, and our story cards, our legendary story cards, really do tell a story. And when I actually break it down, some of these cards are like, wow, I didn't even notice that.
Right.
And it's a lot of fun.
And I will say, I do want to take a moment and give a big shout out to Prime Rogue, aka Kevin. He is the one that introduced us, and obviously, since you said it the way you did, like no problem with announcing that he's on your team. He is also on my team. Great guy. And so glad that I kind of crossed paths with him a couple of months ago. It has definitely been a very fun and rewarding friendship, and we've had some hella times over not that long of a time, to be honest. So also glad that he fell in with you. And I had heard the name Novopangea a couple of times before he found out about you guys, but I just have not really been exploring new stuff on Wax. And so it kind of, not that it was not on my radar, but Wax itself is not my forte. I'm much more on Hive. So I do have a question as to, why Wax and not Hive, but that's less important. What I really want to kind of get at is, he has not really told me anything about the actual gameplay, and I feel like that is a much more important topic to cover for people out there, because most of my audience is also mostly Hive. So anybody who's watching right now may or may not have heard of Novopangea, but you're probably going to have the opportunity to be speaking to mostly new people here. And me, myself, I know nothing about it, so tell us how it works.
Yeah, so I just want it's important to jump into the because we were transitioning about story and the lore, so that was super important to cover first. But right now it's a multiplayer economy game, and it's to me, like we mentioned, we talked about SimCity, we talked about StarCraft. I'm a big now Clash of Clans fan. Those institutions. So right now the way it works is, you start with one of your whatever realm you like. We have 11 districts in each realm, so you pick your home district, and then you can start building your little empire there. And there's multiple ways you can play. So right now you could just be a landowner and get a land claim, own land, and then rent it out to another player to put a building on it. And then if you have a building, you can hire skilled workers. That could be either your own or somebody else in the community. And then, just like real world mechanics, you will pay the skilled workers what we call obsidian, which is our money, but you will earn all the energy or food or building materials, the resources those skilled workers mine. So we looked at a lot of real world mechanics for everything. So the landowner could be the landlord, the building owner is like the business owner, and the skilled worker could be the workforce. And the cool thing is, you can own end-to-end all of them, or you can just own one element. And we have players play all differently. Obviously, our whales end-to-end, multiple lands, multiple buildings, multiple skilled workers. But you also have players who kind of do the hybrid approach, where they'll just put some of the skilled workers in other people's buildings, or when the skilled workers are resting, they will keep their buildings open so other people's skilled workers can come in. And the cool thing is, from feedback from our community, is we allow the landlords to change the rent of the land, the building owners to determine how much they want to pay each skilled worker. So you can actually go and see the different rates for the same level skilled worker. It's pretty cool when we launched that feature, how quickly people kind of played with the rates, and depending on which building it is, they will pay more. Skilled workers in our buildings, you can level up. They have mutable data, so you can actually use the resources and you can upgrade them just like you can in Clash of Clans. That's always been a fun thing for me, is upgrading and it unlocks either higher yield or additional capacity for your buildings. It's a lot of fun there. But on top of it, because they're very community focused, each district can have X amount of players on it, but there's a town hall. So you can level up your town hall as a community, and it unlocks more game features.
Nice.
Yes. So we just released Town Hall Level 3 yesterday. So the way you upgrade is you stake the Noble token that you can either get an Alcor, or you can get in the game by the Obsidian. You can trade in Obsidian for Noble token. You can stake the Noble token at Town Hall to level it up and unlock other features, which is a lot of fun. A lot of districts already have level 3 and it got released yesterday, but my district's not there yet. I need to earn a little bit more Noble tokens. I gotta stop playing more and stop building.
I guess it's not necessarily a bad thing when that's how you're feeling about your own game. You gotta stop building so much and start playing, because you're starting to get outclassed. So yeah, we were actually, you kind of hit on one of it. We kind of left a question unfinished when earlier I asked you about the key aspects of fantasy. You said another world. I 100% agree with that. The other two, for me, are kind of, there has to be some kind of magic or advanced technology, whatever, but something that is more than exists on Earth, and then there has to be some form of progression, like particularly leveling up. Like, those are the real key three for me. And it actually reminds me of one of my favorite questions that I've asked a lot of people on here. Not everyone, but it's kind of one of the regular questions. Is, out of everything that you have played, you can draw from anywhere except your own game, what is your favorite level up and progression system that you have ever come across?
I like, I go back to Final Fantasy X, and, right now I feel our economy is at a really, really good place for Novopangea. And, next we're going to be working on PvPs, PvP play. I'm putting a lot of my own money into it because I want to get there faster.
Right.
And I will be I hate to say it, but using a lot of the mechanics that I loved from Final Fantasy X.
And that you don't hate to say it. Everything that you do is inspired from somewhere, no matter what. As long as you're not cadging something wholesale and trying to present it as something that is completely new, then I think you're fine. Like, everything is an inspiration drawn from somewhere. Nobody is coming up with something, wholly fresh and complete. So, be honest about your inspirations, and I feel like at that point you're making the best thing that you can by combining different pieces and whatnot. And who cares if it's a Frankenstein? As long as it's entertaining, that's all that matters. So, yeah, and unfortunately, actually, Final Fantasy X is kind of towards the end of my Final Fantasy ink. 8 is the first one that I didn't beat, and that was because of a couple of ridiculous circumstances. I started that game quite a few times and never actually got onto Disc 2. The one time I beat Disc 1, my Disc 2 was scratched, and so it wouldn't load through the opening intro. And so that was actually when I just quit playing that game. And then 9 was just a travesty. So honestly, I've heard so many great things about 10, but I never really got into it. 7 was kind of where the series ended for me, to be honest.
Well, I always heard from my friends that 7 was the best one.
And that does seem to be the go-to. In all honesty, I don't feel like it was. I feel like 3/6 was. That might be biased because it was the first one that I played, of course, but and 7 was also amazing. But I feel like a big part of the reason why 7 sold so much better is just because A, it was longer, and B, those graphics, both when they came out and then on the remake, like, they're just so amazing. And while 3/6 didn't look anywhere near as good, I do feel like the storyline and the gameplay were actually a little bit better. But they're going to be neck and neck for almost everyone for probably
Yeah,
ever.
I'm in the same boat. Like when after I played 10 and they came out with 10-2, I got that and I beat that in about 2 to 3 days. I did not leave my house. My girlfriend was so mad at the time. I just stayed home and I played that for hours and hours, and I loved it. It's the gameplay, the story. One thing that I actually love with the whole NFT waxing that people enjoy, because I enjoy it, is crafting.
Oh, yes, that was my that is my number one most missed thing about being able to play Magic in face to face, in person, on paper, at FLGSs. Um, Draft is the greatest thing in game. Limited formats are the best.
So we have, like I mentioned, a lot of Final Fantasy 10 is, and one thing I love about Final Fantasy 10 is I can have a weapon. You got to find different weapons like legendaries, etc. And you can craft certain items onto it. So basically, if I have a normal like a sword, I can add like a water sphere to it. So now when I hit you, I'm just not giving you physical damage. It's physical and water damage.
Yep.
So if I'm going to someone, say in the late realm, who is electricity, I might want to bring that with me because that would, increase the ability. So that is the vision for the PvP. And one thing that we're also doing is, and I was trying to get it before PvP because from my, business side and dev side, it's an easier lift, but it would be forcing things. That's why I made the decision, you know what, I have to just get to PvP faster, put in my money to get there faster. We're gonna have our own specific resources that you can collect and you can trade amongst people. And you go to somewhere to craft one-time use items.
Okay.
So like a potion, a haste, etc. And then you can use that in battle. But you can also level up. The idea you'd be level up your item, your weapons and stuff like that, with realm specific resources. Because, for instance, Space Realm, they're known for this very, very rare, strong steel. And so our legendary weapon, you're gonna need to be able to mine that steel or trade for that steel to upgrade your legendary weapon.
Gotcha.
Our entry common weapon will be more wood, so you might need the special wood from Earth Realm, but it's not going to be as scarce to upgrade it. So it's very you're gonna have to travel to different realms to get, or you're gonna have to do trading posts or figure it out on secondary, because we still have to look at what some of our main gamers care about, is the secondary stuff and whatever. So we have to kind of make those mechanics there too, so they can export things from the game and put as NFTs and then go on secondary.
Hell yeah, sounds exciting. So we got PvP coming, we got crafting coming.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two things that are actively working on. So right now, the gameplay is pretty much exploration and conquest. And then also there's a land owning and resource management type of thing going on there.
It's land owning. It's a full economy style land owning. You own buildings, land. You mine, you vest them. You're creating the whole little empire, your whole little economy, basically. Right now, it's the whole economy side. You're building it. So when we start adding these other new features, it's going to work off of the economy, and it's great because we can add some fun negative drains, I like to say, when we get to PvP and stuff.
Right.
Because right now a lot of people just look at negative drains. I mean, not negative drains. They look at drains to make them earn more, but that's not a negative drain. That just causes inflation. So we can't have that.
And what is your approach to burning on a personal level?
So right now, we actually So we have this creator credit model with our packs. So we had sketch cards come out, which really was just a sketch of each of the cards that we came out with chapter two, which are chapter one, which are the beautiful, sexy cards. And so we had the story cards come out, and we have different rarities, right? And each rarity is worth a creator credit value, and the creator credits cards you can actually trade in for game assets. The reason we did it with those smart at the time is we wanted to really show off the artwork. We really wanted to get people to understand the lore, the world of Novopangea, because each story card it really goes into the main character, it goes into the dwellings, it goes into the environment, it goes into the society, it goes into their powers. So and even their creatures. So you can really learn the world of Novopangea through those story cards. So that was the main idea, and then you can actually trade them in for the game assets to play the game. It's great in theory, but at the end of the day, many users in Wax just want to play the game. So it became, a little bit difficult for onboarding new users because they're gonna have to understand the creator credit model, and then they're gonna have to trade it in. So looking back, it may not have been the best business sense. However, I think it's still very valuable because it really got to define the lore and the world of Novopangea. If you really look at those cards, you can close your eyes, like I mentioned before, and really see life in each of those realms.
I dig it. And it actually, it sounds like you and I have kind of very independently actually arrived at very similar structures, because you said you got 6 different realms and Earth is one of them, and on my planet it's a cube, so there's 6 different sides, and one of them is very Earth-like, and then the other 5 are very not. And I feel like we've kind of, by different paths, come to a very similar kind of launching off point, and I definitely got a kick out of that. So, like, how large is your world? Let's just kind of focus on the Earth plane, and then I imagine that the others would kind of be similar in scope to that, or are they different? Some larger, like.
Yeah, we have a whole map that shows you Novopangea, the world. You want me? I can share my screen if you want. Is that possible?
I believe that it is on the video, and if you want to go ahead and pop that up, I will. I'm ready to adjust the stream so that we're showing whatever we need to. All right. Now let me hide myself. There we go, and let me make you larger. There. Smaller there, and we'll move you up a little bit. All right, we now have your screen.
So this is the world of Novopangea. Actually, let me go to the game. So you can see the world here.
Oh, I really like that loading screen.
Thank you.
That is so much better than the Splinterlands chomping teeth or Vruz running with a backpack full of fucking SPS.
So ideally, we were going to have a lot more districts, but we underestimated the size of Wax. So we're going to have to update this in the future to actually show off everything. But basically, the whole thing with Novopangea is that it is one land continent surrounded by water, and these different realms are fighting for land, or they're going to live in peace. That's the main underlying storyline.
Oh, okay.
And each realm was actually defined and was inspiration from places in our world. And our lead artist Andreas, he had an AMA on YouTube and went through the whole process and storyboarding. So like light is like Africa, Egyptian, gold, royalty. So when we actually dive into Light Realm, you kind of can get that vibe. Space Realm is more where it's cold, you know, up there where it's, you know, it's very cold, strict, you know, kind of like, you know, like in Russia and stuff like that, very, you know, cold and whatnot, with snow and stuff. Earth is down, and because our team's from Colombia, you know, Bogota, it's down around that area in Colombia, the Amazon and indigenous, you know, rainforests and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's very, very, very beautiful. Let me pull up Earth real quick. Shadow. I forgot what shadow, how he defined shadow, where shadow came from. But shadow, basically, those characters, they live in the mountains, not the mountains, underground in tunnels and stuff like that. Very, very dark. But we don't know if the Shadow Realm people are evil or not. We do not know that. We just know they live in the shadows, and we know what they look like. But we do not know if they're good or bad yet.
Okay.
Water Realm is, you know, like the Hawaiian islands, Maui, you know, like what's that movie, Moana, with the rocks in?
Okay,
that
yeah.
vibe. And then Time Realm, which, hold on, let me just, Time Realm is very futuristic. They control time, bright colors, very green. And, you know, everybody's different. This is one of the creatures. So every world's different. The art really comes to life. You know, these are like what Earth Realm characters look like. This is the Earth Realm creature. This is this is the first NFT I saw. I fell in love with it. And a legendary card, it has audio and it moves, it animates. It's gorgeous.
Awesome.
But you can really see the life. You can really see, you know, Egyptian in it. Like,
yeah.
If I were to pull up some legendary cards, I might have some goodies to show you. This is a future thing, so I haven't shown anybody that yet.
Hey, I love it. Y'all getting pure alpha on these interviews. Not the first time, hopefully not the last.
You know, but you know, we are going to be releasing PFP soon, and you know, this is kind of going to be the portal. So when you get your PFP, that's your passport to Novopangea. So as you can see, you have, you know, everyday people just living their life, and then they get into the Novopangea portal. You know, these are each of the realm seals: shadow, earth, space, light, water, and time. And if you look at it, shadow's going down, earth is like green grass earth, space is in the air, light is the sun rays, water looks like water, and time is like infinity. Let me pull up some of the beautiful art that I think you would like. I want the videos though.
So are we browser based or are we a standalone?
We are browser based.
That's what I figured. And what are we built on?
We are built on React.
Cool. I'm not familiar with that one.
It's just we're basically HTML5. You know, we're looking at Unity, but you can play browser based on your phone, which is important. And I was worried about the web based for Unity. And I know I advised for another gaming company, and I know how difficult Apple and Google can be with apps, especially in the crypto NFT space.
Yeah.
And they will get into your profits. And to be honest, you know, after the bull market, now in the bear market, you know, the margins are not like crazy, right? So anything that Apple would eat would screw us over. All right. So here's one of the, I don't know if you can hear my audio, but
I do hear you. Oh wow.
So this is one of the Earth Realm story cards, legendary, and you can start to see the world of Novopangea, right? You know, you see the Earth Realm one, and not too many are being sold on the market. but that's okay. This is one of our new cards where you can kind of can see how they interact. Again, Earthbound.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So the law is very important to us. The art is very important to us. The game right now is just a starting off point, and I love games, so it's a lot of fun. And then I love showing up this card because the story element. So this is our main character Monzi, and in the water realm, and as you can see, she's looking in the water, and that's actually a space realm spaceship that debris. Right, we don't know how it got there, but you can see the shock turtle. There's a shock the turtle shell with some type of space realm tech on it. We know from other cards that Amanzi in the water realm kind of free spirits. She loves to explore, but most importantly, the water realm loves the water, the cleanness of water. They care about it, even the creatures. In the background is Concealer, which is actually one of the water realm's main creatures, and you can see it actually picking up the debris from the spaceship. So all that story is just in this little animation.
Yeah.
And if you just look at it like, oh, that's cool, but if you actually look at it, you can really learn a lot more from all the different story cards.
And something else that I want to actually kind of highlight and take a moment to appreciate, because it's something that I have been working on myself. Your frames are great. They've got a good amount of information contained there, and yet they don't distract from or block the artwork at all. And I really like that. That's really nice.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
How did you make those? Like, what program did you use, or did somebody else design the frames?
Oh, I didn't do any of the art stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
Andreas and his team down in Colombia, the process was, and that's why what we did was, let me show you our sketch cards. So basically, we released our sketch cards, and it was important to show if you really care about how things get built in this stuff, or if you're just chasing tokens, then this part won't apply to you. But if you really care about the process, the artwork, we knew each topic we were going to do, and this is the original sketches from the artist. So we released, this was a pre-sale thing, and then after each sketch, on paper, then they went to I guess it was the illustrator and layers, and then we gave it to an animator down there, and they actually animated it, and then we gave the sound engineer to do the sound, and then to actually put the frames on it. The animator actually put the frame on it over it before we finally did the export to Mint.
Yeah, no, that's also a really cool idea. Like, I've been thinking about how to really differentiate the pre-alpha and alpha cards from other things, and I like that idea as well. With they've got a thicker, kind of more substantial frame and the original sketch work, and then you can have the same functional cards as a later release, but you'll still have the earliest versions being immediately recognizable, both as what they are and as something else other than the basic version of what they are. I really like
Correct.
that.
And that's, remember I mentioned before the whole creator credit model, our story cards and the tiers. So our common cards are black and white, and then our uncommon just has color. And then our rare cards is a black and white animation with no sound. And our epic cards are black and white, and then it goes to color. Still no sound. Each has a different border, like you mentioned. And then we went to legendary. Those are the gorgeous ones with the audio. Those ones, like honestly, the majority of the ones you made, you cannot even find on secondary. You have to kind of get some old packs and hope to hit one. They're worth 64 creator credits, which you can get like a lot. You can get like 2 pieces of land with that, or you can use them in the game as a speed up, because they're too beautiful in my eyes to burn for creator credits.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I really like that, and that was actually something I kind of picked up from Warsaken was the whole, increase the rarity of your card by, being able to, feed more into it, and then also the cards just getting more and more beautiful as you do. I think that was something that was probably my favorite thing about Warsaken, and it is something that I have kind of taken from there. And this is actually kind of the reason why I was talking about the progression system earlier, is because one of the things that we're doing for uh,
I stopped
Relio
sharing. I
for
stopped sharing, by the way.
yeah, I see that. I'm moving you back over. Undo that. Okay, I need to be on this one. There we go. Get you back set up. So we're gonna have a system where, just like you said, there's lore kind of locked into the cards. You're going to have a lore level, which you can unlock more and more information about each piece of equipment or each card for whatever it is, by doing more copies of the same card. And then there will be a level, a rarity, which is by combining in more copies of that same card and then just getting prettier and prettier like that. And then you have the actual experience level of the card, which is where you're getting your stats from. And so you have three different ways to improve each card, and you can't get your experience way higher than your rarity level or your lore level, and so you kind of got to work them all together. And the way that you increase the lore level and the experience level on each of the cards is going to be from the tradable tokens that come out of the dungeons. And so those tokens, the use case for them will be they're needed for literally every single card in order to level them up. And yet at the same time, like if you do want to be pulling profit, that's what you're going to be selling, and just let the market kind of make that work. What is kind of the most exciting thing for you about like tokenomics and whatnot in Novo? Or is that something that you really had a hand in, or something else that you kind of let the team really figure out? How does that kind of system work?
Well, now I'm very, very involved in it. I should have been more involved in it earlier, but I just look at the tokenomics thing as another element and part of the game.
Yeah, very important one, because games die
Yeah,
by their tokens. Absolutely.
it's very important. Part of the whole ecosystem. I think the thing that I really like about it, it's the backbone of the economy, and it's something we can easily measure just by what it's trading at. You know, we had some learning lessons, and we made some mistakes, but we were able to adjust to get to a very stable place I feel right now. But just like any part of the economy, I just love how it opens opportunities to create different drains or different game mechanics to make it make sense. And I think it's, as a game designer, it just brings another challenge. And I love challenges.
Right. It
So,
definitely is too. There's so much weight on that one little word. Maybe not even such a little word, but there's so much weight on that. Like it really is one of the most imposing tasks, I feel, like trying to make sure that you get that part right. And it makes me understand why, like, the AAA game franchises, they don't want to wade into it, because it is the type of thing where one tiny misstep can absolutely just eliminate all possibility of your game taken off and just run it into the ground.
100%. We're very fortunate. We have a very good tokenomics advisor. He was actually joined us on stream about a couple of weeks ago. He works at Animoco. He's the lead tokenomics guy there. So he kind of helps us, but we don't use him as much as we should. And we have other people in the community who's very, very die hard about tokenomics. So, we were able to, lean on them as much. And, it's great because our advisors have what they're advising in is that's the most important thing to them about the project, whether it's a story, the tokens, whatever, which is great because, this is my responsibility to kind of put it all together. Okay, that'd be perfect for tokens, but then we won't do as good as secondary. And secondary is very important because it's not really the money. We don't make a lot more secondary for money, but you see us getting higher in the rankings, and that's a great marketing tool.
Yeah.
So you have to look at all the different levels, and like this may be a great feature for tokenomics, but the dev cost is up here, and the return isn't there, right? And to be honest, we don't make money on the tokens, right? We're not selling tokens left and right, because if we do that, then that just f's up the whole economy. So it's it's pulling the strings to kind of everything together to make sure the whole world lives together, and I really enjoy that part.
Yeah, it sounds like you got a pretty good handle on it, and I'm excited to see it. So definitely in the Discord, drop me your Wax address. I'm gonna have a couple of promos and whatnot to send to you, because we are doing most of the promos for Dragon Memories on Wax, and then the NFTs for the game themselves will be on Hive. But right now, still kind of navigating the Hive NFT creation, and Wax is pretty easy. So just wanted to go ahead and get something out for our early investors, and for people that are on the show, and people that are in the streams and whatnot, and being there with us as we're going on. So I've been making a lot of promos, putting them out, and I will be happy to send you some as well. And
I love it, and I appreciate it. Do you mind if I ask you a quick couple questions about Splinterland, since you seem to know it very, very, very well?
Yeah, go for it.
So with Splinterland, their PvP, because I watched some videos, and my understanding of how it works is it's turn-based but simulation, right?
It is a turn-based auto battler, yes.
Can you go? Yeah, I watched the videos and I read up on it, but can you go into a little bit more about how that works?
Absolutely. So when you first start a match, right, you wait, you get your opponent, and then it pulls up your information screen, which is going to show you what splinters are available out of the 6 splinters: water, earth, fire, life, death, and dragon. Some of those may or may not be available. You're going to have a certain amount of mana that you're allowed to use for that battle, and then you're going to have potential rule sets. When you're starting out in Novice, you're not going to get any special rules, and you're going to have every splinter available. And you're also going to have a pretty low mana amount available. As you progress into Bronze, Silver, Gold, Diamond, Champion, then with each of those steps, you're more likely to have more mana to spend, although you can still get the minimum of 12. And you're more likely to have 1, 2, or 3 rule sets as opposed to just standard rules. You're also more and more likely to not have the full complement of splinters available. So you get more and more restrictions on your deck building, while at the same time allowing more and more powerful options as the mana cap goes up. So it becomes more important that you have more options available to you, and it also becomes more expensive to do so, because as you progress in the levels, then each of the maximum levels for the cards is higher, and therefore they can be stronger. And so if we're playing in Champion and we have all the same cards, but all mine are level 1 and all yours are max level, you're going to win every single battle, even if I put together a better team than you, just because your cards are more powerful.
So, question, was that your choice to battle that person that's way stronger than you, or was that their pairing system?
It's a matchmaking thing. And with the current Splinterland situation, a lot of times the person on the other end is not a person, it's a bot. And that really doesn't matter what league you're in. It is unfortunately true even in brawls and tournaments sometimes. And there's also, varying definitions of bot, because there are people that have tools that help them pick their teams but don't actually play for them, but it's still, a bot that is deciding what you're running. even if you're clicking it by yourself. And then there's some bots that, or some people that are just straight up not even playing.
So
And
their
then there's
matching system will match a higher leveled player versus a lower level player. Is that
Well, within your league, you're not going to be like as bronze.
gotcha?
You're not going
Gotcha.
to be matched with
Gotcha.
someone in gold.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
you could, within gold, I could be a leaderboard gold 1 player, and you could be just got into gold 3,
Yep.
and so we're talking about a difference of like a minimum of 900 or minimum of 600 rating points, but I could be a gulf as big as like 2,000, and that's going to be very rare that you're on the top facing someone on the bottom, but it does happen. They
Yep.
try and get it as close as possible, but we have 12 leagues of play, and we don't really have the player base to fully support that 12 leagues of play. And then as they're taking more and more anti-bot measures, losing those bots is really hurting the ability to get a match quickly sometimes. And then there's also, Hive, much like Wax, has its own problems, and sometimes that throws an issue in things. And of course, every game has its downtimes and whatnot. But
And
overall,
are the matches in real time? Like you do a move and I do a move.
yes and no. There is a speed mechanic, and so within the round, the highest speed is going to go first, and if there's a tie on the speed stat, then it's going to go ranged, and then magic, and then melee.
Mm-hmm.
And then if there's a tie there, like two of the same type at the same speed, then it's going to go to whichever one is higher level, as compared to max. And then like if they're both maxed, then I forget where it goes from there, but there is a whole kind of tier tree of tiebreakers, and then if everything is the same, then it just goes to a random choice.
So if you win that and it's your turn, do you pick which attack you want to do, or is it automatically that card only has one attack, so it's going to automatically do it?
Most cards only have one attack. If a card has multiple attacks, it will do everything that it can. So like there are a couple of cards that have both a magic attack and a ranged attack, or a magic attack and a melee attack, or a melee attack and a ranged attack, and there are certain rules on melee and ranged. Typically, melee can only attack from position 1, and range can only attack from positions 2 through 5. There are exceptions to those and abilities and whatnot, but that's the way it would work. Is if I have magic and melee, and magic will fire from anywhere, melee will only fire from the first round, or first row. So if my magic and melee is in position 6 and melee can't attack, it will still shoot its magic every turn. If it's in position 1, it will do both because the melee can fire.
Makes sense.
And then all of the actual abilities on the cards, those are all static. So either it's basically a board effect. Like a lot of the debuffs, that just if the creature is there, that effect is there. If the creature dies, that effect goes away. And then some of them are on-hit effects, which are usually a 50% chance, like a stun or an affliction or a poison. So if I hit you, then 50% of the time you're going to be either stunned or poisoned or afflicted, which means that you can't heal. And then there are some on-hit effects that happen every time I hit you, like Life Leech. If I do damage to your health, then I gain half of that damage back as maximum life.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Makes sense.
It is. What I love most about the game is the depth of complexity and decision making, and I feel that it is something that is missing from the new player experience. Like, I'm glad that I got the bug as hard as I did, as early as I did, and that happened really before the bot farms became as big of a problem as they are, because I got up to silver relatively quickly, and I realized how much better the game is there. Novice and bronze, to me, are two of the biggest problems that Splinterlands as a game faces, because the introduction to the game is literally and absolutely the worst part of the experience of playing the game, because you are against nothing but bots in bronze. There are so few people in bronze because the whole point is get the hell out of bronze. You're not earning anything in bronze, and the gameplay is so much simpler and less satisfying. And I mean, I'm speaking from my own point of view here. There are some people who absolutely love bronze, but your cards might have one or maybe two abilities. Their stats are going to be super weak, and you don't get rule sets, you don't get much mana to play with, and basically all your cards are just kind of hamstrung. And so it takes a lot of the complexity of the gameplay out of it. And then, in addition to that, because there are so many fewer players and because the game is so much more simplistic, you're facing off not only against people running one or two bots, but you have people that run bot farms of 10,000 accounts, and a lot of those are the primary component of bronze, because they can't move up to silver because they don't have any cards, anything like that. And yet they can't. They're basically just stuck in bronze. But they can still, because there's nothing going into them, they can still be profitable. In terms of extracting value, and that's one of the biggest problems with the tokenomics and the economy surrounding Splinterlands. But even larger than that, I feel like it is the primary hurdle as far as new player acquisition. Because when you first come into the game, your first half an hour is absolutely terrible. And the tutorial is abysmal. It does a terrible job of explaining the game.
Well, I'm sure it's doing a better job than ours, because that's actually high on our to-do list this month.
All right. Well, I mean, and that is something that I would love to help out with too, if you're looking for some input on that. I'm very excited to dive in and start exploring Novopangea. So I guess
I think that that's a fabulous opportunity. If you dive in, we had a couple of new players give me some feedback. One guy gave me about 4 pages of questions. So we just finished updating the game guide, and now I'm looking at redoing every single screen of that first welcome flow. And I got to find the balance of dev time, making sure it's clear for everybody and excites everybody, but still exactly what to do. And if you don't know what to do, we can provide you that answer in a timely fashion.
Yeah, I like it. And so, okay, another one of the questions that I've been kind of kicking around, and I have not found the ideal solution for, is market building. So one of my things about Splinterlands and Rising Star, I enjoy both of the games, but they both have an in-game marketplace that is absolutely abysmal. They both have in-game links to third-party markets that are wonderful. And I feel like that's probably a great approach. Is like, your strength doesn't necessarily need to be building the best marketplace. Your focus should be on building the game, and let somebody else build the marketplace that is really good. And then the one in the game just has to be functional. Is that kind of an approach that you took, or do you guys have your own in-game marketplace? Is that something that's still ongoing?
So this is our approach to it. It's right now we link out to Nefty, because you can buy our game assets with our Novo token there.
Okay, so
right.
Nefty is actually your marketplace. Awesome. I'm hooked up with Nefty. I've been pumping them for a long time. When we first got, as Splinterlands kind of tied up together and they first launched, I've been with them forever. I've had Tyler on the stream a couple of times, and they've got a great product. Shout out to Nefty Arcade. Or you said Nefty, not
Nefty Blocks.
Okay,
yeah.
Nefty Blocks. Gotcha. And yeah, I mean, also when I'm doing anything on Wax, it's pretty much Nifty because I like that Nifty token. I've got a little bit over 1 million Nef Wax in that liquidity pool, and got a bunch staked earning daily Wax as well. Definitely the best of the Wax exchanges, in my opinion. I use the others a little bit, but not very much.
One challenge though with that is, and the reason we did that is speed to market. We wanted to get the users the ability to, get game assets, because we're not going to keep on going to users to spend more and more money. They can get the Novo, because Novo is designed for in-game utility. So it allows them to get more game assets to keep on playing the game. The challenge is, though, a conversion point of view, it is on our market, it is on our backlog to have an in-game market. So I'm interested that why you brought that up, because we're looking at that as easier ways to convert our users. We feel that we could actually sell more, because you're kind of in that moment of, okay, I want a skilled worker add, or then you need a travel pass to go from one realm to the other one. I want to go space realm, check it out. Boom, I can just get it right away with one click. So that is, if it's done right, it's ideal to be in the game. Also, we have some restrictions of when you can withdraw your Novo, timing restrictions. Right now it's every 14 days, and then we're eventually gonna have different game mechanics that you can unlock it to do it, maybe once every 7 days coming. But that is the kind of a friction point, because they have to wait into that timeline to go, use their Novo to get more game and assets on Nifty blocks. But we need to have that mechanic there, because we don't want to destroy the token by people coming in who just do it and then dump. So we have to find the happy medium so I think it's a safety precaution for our token. However, I think more tokens would have been used on in-game assets if they could have purchased it. No, I don't want to say purchased. They could have redeemed the Novo for in-game assets in the game.
Gotcha. And so, are you custodial or no? Like, if I buy Novo assets and they're sitting in my Wax wallet, is that where I use them, or do I have to stake them into the game?
So now you have to stake them in the game. Originally, when we first built it, you didn't, and that actually affected the performance, the CPU performance. And in no transparency, our CPU is high. It's high because our game has a lot of mechanics. People who stop playing that game, they actually fall in love with it, because they say we offer way more than most games. Like, they say we offer more than Alien Worlds. We offer way more than many games. Like, our mechanics, and we're still building. We do 1 or 2 releases a month. So, we had to do it that way, stake it, just because hands down it was a CPU saver. It totally made it a lot better. So, that's the simple answer.
Gotcha. I'm honestly, with that, I'm kind of leaning towards a little bit of inspiration from Splinterlands as well, because they're on Hive, but they're kind of off Hive. Like, the cards are not actually on Hive at all. And that's kind of where I'm leaning to with that. And then a lot of the early investor bonus badges and whatnot, they're actually made as little banners, and I want those to be displayable in game and whatnot. So I think it's going to be really cool to do them as staked in from the Wax wallet, and then also that's going to help out with saving everybody else's CPU as well, because you don't have to actively hold it in your wallet. And if you're having a bunch of NFTs, then that could potentially make a pretty big difference.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it that drew you to Wax, and have you really started looking into other blockchains or anything like that, or were you just kind of, Wax was your introduction, you fell in love, and that's been home for you ever since?
No, so my introduction was actually Flow because of NBA Top Shots.
Okay.
And when we were looking at, you know, everything, wax and other chains, Ethereum and whatnot, you know, wax prices to mint at the time was just the most attractive, right? So if you are bootstrapping a company, you know, wax is great for entrepreneurs, you know, who don't have, you know, if I had Starbucks money, I could go anywhere, right? So wax made it easy to get going. You know, Atomic Hub was already there, you know, for marketplace. You know, if we did something like Flow, we would have to create our own marketplace. So it's unneeded dev time where we focus on the product and the game.
Yeah.
So wax kind of, and I still think was the best option to get started. We had a lot of talks with Polygon because one of our advisors, you know, has the biggest project on Polygon. So he introduced us just over there. So we were talking about even moving to Polygon before we launched the game, but we already committed to Wax. So we're staying on Wax, and then we will be doing bridges to most likely Polygon and some other chains in the future.
Cool. I dig it. And are you interested in like ETH at all, or are you kind of wanting to stay away from there? And if so, I would imagine it's because of gas fees being a pain in the ass for players. But if there's any other reason behind it, then I would be inclined to kind of hear your thought process there.
It's all about, to me, we're building the Novopangea, not for me, we're building for the users and community. So user adoption is the most important thing in my eyes. Also, obviously, performance and UX, but that is a big part of user adoption. So I think it's user adoption, and that's actually underneath it. So if the users are there and it's easy for them to convert, I would do it. I don't mind spending money, dev time, if the return is positive for users. At the end of the day, I really think Web3 games, need to be just strong Web2 games with Web3 mechanics where it's needed. If I was to do this over again, I would change a shitload of how we built things from all our learnings. And to be honest, I think, ideally users can come from anywhere and they won't even have to know what kind of blockchain they're on. And everything, the magic happens in the back.
Gotcha. I think you did hit on a good point earlier, though, that one definite perk of being on Wax is that you do already have Nifty and Atomic Hub and NFT Hive. Like, you've already got 3 really solid tools available to you just for kind of being on that blockchain. How difficult, and I guess also how long and or expensive was the process of getting whitelisted for you?
I don't remember. It seemed very fast. We met with Jonah from Atomic Hub, relatively fast before we even had our project even close to being ready. When it was just in ideation and we had some art cards, we met with him. He took calls video screen. He gave us basically the to-do list. Make sure you have your pictures on the website. I know you guys are real people, and we just built that relationship early on. And he approved us. Oh, I don't know if it was him, but the Atomic Hub approved us to get whitelisted.
Cool.
Simple.
That's definitely good to hear, because it seems, and from what I've heard from some others, like it's a very imposing kind of process to go through. It's one that I have not really started yet.
And I think it was because when we met him, it was before all the rug pulls were pulled. The rugs are still on the floor, so they weren't.
Fair.
So I think it was probably because now there's a lot of all the rug pulls in the history. He has to. I don't want to say he, but people have to take more precautions because they're protecting the customers, they're protecting the players. So good for them to do that. But and then again, I always think about, who's protecting the projects. And, a lot of thought and energy, even with Wax, they do a lot to protect the community, but there's not too much resources out there to protect. Actually, the people who protect the projects that I found out are other projects. They kind of, support each other, which I think is a phenomenal thing in this space. But there's not too many guidelines and rails to protect projects from bad actors, bad users who try to game it, who try to destroy things. So when you have projects who are ethical and trying their best to do the right thing and make the right decisions, it's a shame when you have bad actors. But luckily for us, we have such a great community that our community will, if they see something, they'll flag it and let us know. And that's one thing that's great about, it's a gift and curse actually with Web3, is I think the players and the users are by far the smartest users you would have in any type of, whether you're building a loyalty app or any other type of product. These Web3 users are brilliant. You know what I mean? They come from tech security backgrounds, developer backgrounds. They come from these backgrounds where they know how they could hack you in a second if they wanted to. So very lucky that majority of the people have great values, but there's always going to be some bad actors out there.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely something that I've been making sure to always kind of drive home is do your own research, folks. Make sure that you know what you're getting into, because exactly as you said, there are a lot of bad actors out there. Even in the world at large, there's a lot of people looking to take advantage of any kind of oversight and do something the easy and the wrong way to take advantage of people, and especially in the kind of Wild West world that is Web3 and crypto. Not your keys, not your crypto, do your own research. All of those tropes, they're there for a reason, because it's real shit and there are people that want to steal your shit. I've had a Coinbase account hacked. I've had a couple of rug pulls that I've been caught by. I've had a couple of games that I've invested in that went absolutely nowhere. And I know I'm not even close to alone in any of that. Like, pretty much anybody who's been here for a while has been gotten one way or another. And I think for the most part, we're all pretty supportive of each other when it happens, but it's undeniable that it sucks, and it'll piss you off real good, but it's not worth not getting involved, and it's definitely just CYA type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So as someone who is brand new coming into Novo, what do I need to buy first?
So there's a lot of different ways to play the game. And, the easiest way I would recommend is just to get a skilled worker, and you can place in other people's buildings. But what we actually have done is we created starter kits, so that we have 3 different versions of it. We have a normal one that will give you 3 skilled workers, a land, and a building. So you can actually have the land, the building, and we have the skilled workers. And at the end of every single month, we give out land rewards. So if you have an active land claim with a building on it, at the last day of each month, we take a snapshot, and then we'll send you some Nova rewards. So you can, if you just want to be passive, you can do it maybe once a month. Just keep the building on it towards the end, and you will get your Nova rewards. So, and then we have our Bola starter package, and that gives you 6 plots of land, every building type, which includes 3 residential buildings, and you get 9 skilled workers. So if you want to go all in, that will give you what you need to be fully sustainable, where you don't need to work with anybody else. But you're going to eventually start working with other people because it's more fun. Because our community is amazing, and they hang out, and they're so helpful, not just well, they're absolutely amazing. So there's different ways to get started, but those are the best ways to do it. And we actually put that on our store, our shop.novopangea.io, and you can purchase that with fiat or other cryptocurrencies. And if you need to purchase with Wax, you just DM us, and we have some on secondary too under our corporate account.
Gotcha. I'm definitely very excited to start exploring, and I will probably try and get Prime's attention and do a little walkthrough with him, and of course you would be more than welcome to join us on one of the regular actual gaming streams to cover that as well if you would like. I have invited you to my Discord.
Awesome. I'll join.
We're live every night except for Friday and Saturday night, starting at quarter till midnight. Wednesday and Thursday are really hammer down focus on Dragon Memories. Wednesday is World Building Wednesdays with my best friend Ben. He is the co-creator of the world, and I've been working with him on this for like 15 years now. And then we'll have Technical Thursdays where we're going over, stuff like tokenomics, and I'll have my lead dev on most of the time.
There's a lot of guys named Ben in this space.
Oh, really? I honestly, I don't know all that many people's names, but I did kind of want to. I want to respect your time. I know you didn't have all that much longer left over, so. If you want to touch on something, I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts about KYC and or bots, and your approaches to that particular problem within the gaming sphere.
Yeah, so we part of the Creator Credit motto, and even when we've sold our packs, we've been very kind of protected over bots. So like we only let you people buy like X amount, max amount, and have the cooldowns and that stuff. But in the day, from a business point of view, it hurt us, right? Bots would have helped our numbers, helped our income, all that stuff. But that goes back down to the morals, and it goes back into the people's integrity. And so we still make decisions that we know protect us from getting gain from bots and other stuff. So we're very close to our community. I'm pretty transparent. They know, we make mistakes, and they know, but that's good because the transparency allows me to kind of go over the wireframes and the designs and stuff before we start implementing, right? So we get feedback. We might have somebody, who would be like, I would bot it this way. Or, okay, well, I know why you're doing this, but, since it's not required in the game, I can just make my own script, and then I can, bypass, this drain. And I was like, okay, well, go ahead, and we find you out, these are T's and C's. But the point of the matter is, it's great that a community is actively telling us this stuff, so we're aware of it before we implement it, or we can get feedback from them, or we can kind of go back and brainstorm about how to protect it. So I think, from a business point of view, bots really do help your numbers, but it's more about who you are and ethically. And I think from an overall, at least consensus from the Novopangea community, from the oil communities, they're not in favor for bots. So we do try to design it with that in mind.
Gotcha. I'm kind of I agree with what you're saying there a lot. Like, bots definitely help the numbers, and it's probably not as much of an issue for like Novo as it currently exists, because you don't need another person necessarily to battle or whatnot. You don't have to find a match, so there's less that is right now live with somebody else, which bots unquestionably help with in terms of the map making. Like, I understand why Splinterlands has taken the stance that it has, and also from a decentralization standpoint. I feel like the gameplay of Dragon Memories is not going to necessarily be very bottable. But I don't know whether or not I actually feel like we need to anti-bot in TOS. But I also do feel like, because of the way that some of the things are going to work, that KYC is probably the best option, because it's really, if you're running a bot on one account, I don't really mind. But I don't want people to be, running 20, 30, 50, even 2 or 5 accounts, but especially not thousands, because that, I think, is a drain on the economy. So I'm just thinking, we allow bots, and honestly, good luck making one that's going to be effective, because you're still limited in how much you can actually enter, how much you can pull per account, and therefore just making it so that it's one account per person, I feel like, is going to really kind of take care of that.
And that's what our game. It's like I said, it's very hard to buy, and even if multi-counting, there's no advantage really for you over somebody else, right? You could spend all that time and energy with one account or 2 accounts. It's not going to be any added value for you right now. But when you mentioned about battles and matching, that comes back to the customer first, the player first.
Exactly.
And if it is a friction point to find a match, then that's a different conversation that you would have to have, right? And I'll be transparent with the community. And you could always say, hey, if there's not, because I advise another company that has a matching system. What they do, and this is a web 2 game. What they do is they will have their own. I hate this. I guess you can call bots, but the computer be the challenger. So people aren't going to be sitting there like, I wish I had somebody battle. They could have, say, maybe they can have like 20 identities or type of, mix of cards or whatever, to battle. So you'll be basing the battling a bot, which would be a company-owned computer, and that at least you can continue to play and have a chance to beat them. That could be an option that we might explore.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That seems like a pretty elegant solution. So how much longer do you have? Should we start wrapping it up? Do you got a little bit?
We should probably start wrapping up. My wife just walked by.
All right.
So,
well, I'm gonna go ahead and give you a few moments to say whatever you would like to talk about. Kind of the floor is yours. Tell the people where they can find you, if they would like to see more, whatever you want to say about Novopangea, and yeah, it's all yours.
Yeah, definitely. I basically, unfortunately, I live in the Novopangea Discord. So whenever you guys have a question about the game, whether you're looking into, how it plays, you're trying to understand how to get started, or anything about it, just join our Discord. Either I'll be there, Franklin, or our community, and somebody will be there to help answer your questions and guide you in the right direction. Tonight at 7 p.m., if you got Eastern time, if you guys are free, come join our Twitch. And we laugh when we have our whale pack break. So we do pack breaks once a week. And this is our whale pack break. So we're going to be opening a lot of high-end packs in search of legendary mythic cards. And it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to get to know us and our community. So definitely join tonight at 7 p.m. Or you can just follow me on Twitter at Yocreati, and you can DM me whenever you want any questions. Like I said, our community is very helpful, and we love to get more people going, started, answer any questions, and just be part of the fun.
Alrighty, sounds great. Definitely encourage anyone who is out there watching this, go ahead and check out that link. Go ahead and send me whatever links you want me to put in the description for your Discord, your Twitter, whatnot. I will link all of that in the description to make life easy for people who aren't watching us live right now.
Thank you.
And we'll get you definitely pushed out there as much as possible. I want to thank you very much for your time and for joining us today for a wonderful discussion. And also wanted to apologize for starting a little bit late. Things got kind of hectic, but thank you very much. And then I want to say thank you to the viewers as well. Always appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and thank you for making this series something both enjoyable to do and hopefully to to view. So thank you all very much. Have a wonderful night. As always, I've been Rick. You've been On the Mountain. And we got Yo over here. Let me point the correct way because the camera's backwards. And we're definitely going to be looking at Novopangea tonight. Going to figure out how to move some wax over onto my playing account and figure some things out. And after your stream tonight, which that one that he just mentioned, 7 p.m., that is in 3 hours, 20 minutes from right now for anyone who is not on the east coast of the States. So that'll be 3.5 hours, and then my stream tonight will be in 8.5 hours, and if you want to join us for that, you are more than welcome, Yo. We'll usually be in the general section in my Discord. There's a roundtable voice channel, and I'm pretty much always live on there, so you can just hop in anytime, whenever you want to join.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I love this community, and thank you for your service, man. I really appreciate that even more.
My pleasure, and always nice to hang out. I definitely can't wait to have more future positive discussions with you, and yeah, looking forward to exploring your world, possibly helping out with it a little bit, and having you hop in and talk some Dragon Memories as well whenever you are available. Would love to. Always good to have another developer to kind of have those conversations with. It's been so much fun having a bunch of different game creators on. Not necessarily what I was thinking about when I started the series, but it's worked out really well, and we've been having so much fun. Had a couple musicians, had a couple just content creators. We actually started it out with Crypto Stash, and it's been a whole lot of fun, and I'm very excited about where things are going, both in terms of, Astral Revelations and Pixtology Wax and Novopangea, Dragon Memories, but also in terms of, off the cuff and the people that we've been having here, and the community that we're all building. And goddamn, I just love Web3.
Awesome.
All right. You have yourself a great night. Viewers, have a good one as well. Thank you very much. Catch you on the flip side.